If you are watching this right now, it is not by accident. Maybe you have been praying for a long time. Maybe you have been waiting for an answer, waiting for a sign, waiting for something to change. And maybe in the quiet moments, a small voice inside you has whispered a question you are almost afraid to say out loud. Is God still there? This is a graded lesson for English learners who need both words and hope. So sit back, listen carefully, and let every word reach you. Today we are going to talk about 8 signs that God is actively working in your life right now. Not tomorrow, not when things get better, right now. Even in the silence, even in the waiting, even when you cannot feel a thing. Because here is something important to understand. Feeling God's presence and God being present are not the same thing. The sun does not stop shining because clouds cover the sky. And God does not stop working because you cannot see it yet. He was working all along. Think about the moments in your life that surprised you. A phone call that came at the right time. A door that closed and left you confused. A stranger who said exactly what you needed to hear. A season of pain that changed you in ways you did not expect. At the time, those moments felt random. Maybe they felt cruel. But looking back, you can see a thread. A quiet, steady thread running through all of it. That thread has a name. There are people watching this right now who are in the middle of their hardest season. You have done everything right. You have prayed, you have trusted, you have waited, and still nothing looks the way you hoped. This lesson is for you, especially for you. By the end of this video, you will not need to feel God moving to know that He is. You will have 8 clear signs to look for. 8 things happening in your life right now that show His hand is still on you. And once you see them, you will not be able to unsee them. If this kind of lesson speaks to you, subscribe right now. There is more coming. Let us begin with the first sign. Sign 1, the peace that has no explanation. The first sign that God is working in your life is this. You feel it. A stillness with no reason to be there. Not happiness, not excitement, not the feeling that everything is okay, but a deep, quiet stillness inside you, even when the situation around you is still broken, even when nothing seems to add up, even when the people you love are still hurting. Something inside you is still. Here's the truth. That kind of peace does not come from you. You cannot manufacture it. You cannot think your way into it. You cannot buy it or plan it or force it to arrive. It comes from somewhere else. The Bible speaks of a peace that passes all understanding, not a peace that makes sense, not a peace that you can explain to someone else. Bigger than your understanding, sitting quietly in your chest, even when your mind is still full of questions. And when that peace shows up uninvited, it is a sign. There was a woman, her name was Sarah. She had been waiting for a new job for 8 months, 8 long months of rejection letters, 8 months of watching her savings get smaller. 8 months of waking up at 3 a.m. with a tight feeling in her chest. And then one week, something shifted. Nothing changed on the outside. The bank account was still the same. The phone was still quiet. But something inside Sarah became still. She could not explain it. She told a friend, "I do not know why, but I feel like it is going to be okay." Her friend looked at her like she was crazy. 2 weeks later, the call came. Not just any job, the job. better than anything she had applied for. And when she looked back, she realized the peace had come first, before the answer, before the open door. The peace was the first sign that God had already started moving. That is how he works. He does not always show you the answer first. Sometimes he gives you the peace first. And the peace is his way of saying, I have this. You can rest now. Fear says the storm means God left. Faith says the peace means God stayed. Do not dismiss that quiet feeling inside you. Do not tell yourself it is just your mind playing tricks. If you have felt an unexplainable stillness in the middle of a hard season, that is not nothing. That is sign one. God's peace does not wait for the storm to stop. It arrives before it does. Sign two, the door that would not open. The second sign is one that most people misread completely. A door closes, an opportunity falls apart, a relationship ends. A plan you worked on for months suddenly collapses. And your first reaction is pain, confusion, maybe even anger. You prayed for that door. You believed for that door. You were sure it was the right one, and it shut. Listen carefully. A closed door is not punishment, not proof that God forgot you, not evidence that your prayers went nowhere. A closed door is protection. It is redirection. It is God saying, not that way, because I have something better prepared for you up ahead. But in the moment, it does not feel like that. In the moment, it just feels like loss. Sarah knew that feeling well. Before the job that changed her life, there was another job, one she wanted badly. She had prepared for weeks. She had prayed every morning. She had told her friends, I feel like this is the one. The interview went well. She felt hopeful. Then the rejection came. A short email, 2 sentences. Thank you for your time. We have decided to go in a different direction. She sat with that email for a long time. She cried. She questioned. She asked God quietly, why did you let me get my hopes up just to let me down? He did not answer that question, not right away. But 6 weeks later, when the real door opened, she understood. The first job would have taken her in the wrong direction. The salary was better, yes, but the environment was difficult. The manager she would have worked under left the company 3 months later. The team was struggling. She would have been miserable. The closed door was not rejection. It was rescue. People who walk by sight panic when they cannot see. People who walk by faith are still. They understand that a no today is often a yes to something better tomorrow. They do not interpret every closed door as abandonment. They interpret it as navigation. Think about the doors in your life that closed and hurt you, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that did not come through, the plan that fell apart. Ask yourself this question. What did that closed door protect you from? What did it redirect you toward? You may not have the full answer yet, but the question is worth sitting with. Because a closed door is not God saying no. It is God saying not that way. He was not absent when that door shut. He was the one who closed it. Sign 3, you were in the right place at the right time. Have you ever looked back at a moment in your life and thought, what if I had not been there? What if I had taken a different road that day? What if I had said no to that invitation? What if the timing had been just slightly different? And because of one small choice, one small yes or no, everything changed. Sign 3 looks like this. Being placed in the right room at the right moment with the right person. not by luck, not by chance, by design. Now think about this. How many turning points in your life came wrapped in something ordinary? Not a dramatic moment, not a vision, not a voice from the sky, just a regular Tuesday, a conversation at a coffee shop, a message you almost did not send, a seat you chose on a bus, a door you almost did not walk through. If you had not gone to that event, you would not have met that person. If you had not picked up that phone call from an unknown number, you would not have heard what you needed to hear. Leaving 5 minutes earlier would have meant missing the conversation that changed your direction. These moments feel like coincidence. They are not. There is a word some people use for these moments: divine appointments. The idea is simple. God places people and moments in your path, not randomly, but purposefully. He arranges the details of an ordinary day so that you end up exactly where you need to be, talking to exactly who you need to talk to, hearing exactly what you need to hear. Think of a time when a stranger said something that stayed with you for years. Recall a time when you ran into someone you had not seen in a long time, and that meeting shifted something in you. Think of a time when you were in a low place and a person appeared, said a few words and left, and you never saw them again. Where did that person come from? Who sent them? You may have called it luck. You may have called it timing. But what if it was something more? What if every one of those moments was a quiet signature? A small mark left by a God who was arranging things behind the scenes in ways you could not see and did not plan. The truth is, God does not always work through earthquakes and lightning. Most of the time, he works through ordinary Tuesdays, through a phone call, through a face you recognize in a crowd, through a book that falls off a shelf and opens to the exact page you needed. There are no accidents in God's plan, only appointments. So the next time something feels like a coincidence, pause before you dismiss it. Ask a different question. Not how lucky was that, but who arranged that? Because someone did. Sign 4. A restlessness you cannot explain. Stay with me on this one, because this sign is the one most people misunderstand. You feel restless, not anxious in the way that fear makes you anxious, not depressed, not lost, but there is something stirring inside you that you cannot name. A sense that something needs to change. A feeling that where you are is not where you are supposed to stay. A quiet, persistent nudge that says, this is not it. There is something more. And you do not know what to do with that feeling, so you push it down. You tell yourself you are being ungrateful. You have a good life. Stop wanting more. Stop being difficult. But the feeling does not go away. Here is what that restlessness might actually be. It might be God preparing you for what comes next. It might be his way of loosening your grip on a season that is ending. Perhaps it is the beginning of a transition you cannot see yet, but that he has already planned. There is a space that some thinkers call the in-between place, the place between what was and what will be. The old chapter has closed, but the new one has not yet opened. You are standing in a hallway, no room behind you, no room clearly in front of you, just the hallway. And it is uncomfortable, and it is disorienting, and it feels like nothing is happening. But something is happening, something important. You are being prepared. Consider the story of a man named Job. He lost everything: his children, his health, his wealth, his comfort. He sat in the in-between place for a long time. Job could not understand what God was doing. He asked hard questions. He felt the silence deeply. His friends told him he must have done something wrong, that God was punishing him. They were wrong. God was not punishing Job, he was preparing him. He was stripping away everything that Job had placed his identity in so that what remained was something stronger, something real, something that could not be taken by circumstances. Job lost it all. And then he understood something about God that he had never understood before. And then he was restored. He woke up, he moved forward, he rebuilt. Not because the restlessness stopped, but because he learned to trust what the restlessness was pointing to. Fear says God has forgotten you. Faith says God is preparing you. If you are in that restless place right now, do not run from it. Do not numb it. Do not fill every quiet moment with noise so you do not have to feel it. Sit with it. Ask God what he is preparing you for. Ask him what he is asking you to let go of. Because restlessness in your spirit is often God's way of saying, get ready. Something is shifting. Something is coming. And the discomfort you feel right now is not a sign that God is absent. It is a sign that he is actively rearranging things on your behalf. If this lesson is reaching you today, if something in these words is speaking to a place inside you that needed to hear this, subscribe right now. There is so much more coming. Now let us look at sign 5. Sign 5. A word that finds you at the right moment. Has a single sentence ever stopped you completely? You were reading or scrolling or sitting quietly in a church, and a few words landed on you with a weight that felt personal, not general, not written for everyone, written for you, for this moment, for this exact pain you have been carrying. And you thought, how did that get there? How did I find that today of all days? Hear me on this. You did not find it. It found you. Sign 5 is this. When a verse, a word, a sentence from somewhere reaches into your specific situation and speaks with a precision that no human could have planned. When something written thousands of years ago feels like it was placed in your path this morning, that is not coincidence. That is God using words to reach you when silence has made you doubt. There was a woman named Corrie ten Boom. She was a Dutch Christian who during World War II hid Jewish people in her home to protect them from the Nazis. She was eventually caught. She and her family were sent to a concentration camp. Her sister Betsy died there. Corrie survived, but the suffering she witnessed and experienced was beyond what most of us can imagine. In that place, in those conditions, Corrie held on to words, specific words, verses she had memorized as a child in her father's watch shop in Harlem. And she said that those words did not feel like memory in the camp. They felt alive. They felt present. They arrived at the moments she needed them most, as if someone was placing them in her mind exactly when her heart was about to break. She did not go looking for comfort in those moments. The comfort came to her. That is how it works. You are not always strong enough to go searching for the right word. Sometimes you are too tired, too broken, too far down. And in those moments, God brings the word to you. It arrives in the strangest ways. A friend sends you a message and quotes something without knowing why. You open a book randomly and your eyes fall on a sentence that answers the question you asked God 3 days ago. You are driving and a song comes on the radio and the lyrics describe your situation so precisely that you have to pull over. It was not random. it was placed. When a verse finds you, God placed it there. When a word reaches you at the exact right moment, that is his voice. Quiet, personal, precise. Not every sign from God is dramatic. Some signs are sentences. Some signs are 4 words on a page that make your eyes fill with tears because they are so exactly what you needed that only God could have sent them. You have felt this before. Think back. Remember a time when words reached you in a way that felt too perfect to be an accident. That was sign 5, and it was not an accident. Sign 6. People are entering and leaving your life at strange times. Here's what most people miss about the relationships in their life. Every person who enters your life enters for a reason. And every person who leaves your life leaves for a reason. And both of these things, the arrivals and the departures, are part of the same plan. Sign 6 is one of the most painful signs to recognize because sometimes the people who leave are people you did not want to lose. A friendship ends and you do not understand why. A relationship that felt important slowly fades. Someone you trusted pulls away. Someone you loved chooses a different direction. And you are left standing there, holding the absence of them, wondering what you did wrong. Sometimes you did nothing wrong. Sometimes people leave because their season in your life is complete. Not because the relationship failed, not because you were not enough, but because what they came to give you, they have already given. And what they came to teach you, you have already learned. And now God is creating space for what comes next. C.S. Lewis knew something about this. He was a man who spent much of his life inside his mind, inside his books, inside the company of a small circle of close friends. He was comfortable there, settled. He did not think he needed much to change. Then he met a woman named Joy. She entered his life unexpectedly in a season when he was not looking for anyone. She challenged him. She made him feel things he had carefully avoided for most of his adult life. She opened parts of him that had been closed for years. And then she died, and the grief nearly destroyed him. He wrote about it honestly in a way that surprised people who knew him only as a confident Christian thinker. He wrote about the silence, the feeling that God had shut a door in his face, the way grief felt less like sorrow and more like fear. But in that grief, something else happened. C.S. Lewis understood love differently. He understood God differently. He understood himself differently. Joy had entered his life and changed it. And then she left. And her leaving changed it again. Both the entering and the leaving were part of the same story. If you have not been able to receive it yet, that is okay. Some seasons of loss are still too fresh. Some doors are still too recently closed to see what they were protecting you from or preparing you for. But here is what is true. Some people wait and grow bitter. Others wait and grow stronger. The ones who grow stronger are not the ones who had easier losses. They are the ones who trusted that even the losses were held in God's hands. That even the people who walked away were sent first and then released by the same God who is still writing the story. If someone has left your life recently and it hurt, that pain is real. Do not dismiss it. But also do not dismiss the possibility that their leaving is as purposeful as their arriving was. Every person in your season has a purpose. Not every person stays. He was working all along. Sign 7, the trial that is changing you from the inside. This one is hard to hear, but it is important. Perhaps you are going through something difficult right now, something pressing on you from every side, something that has lasted longer than you thought you could bear. I want you to consider a different way of seeing it. What if the trial is not evidence that God has abandoned you? What if it is evidence that he trusts you enough to refine you? Let me make this simple. Fire does not destroy gold. It purifies it. It burns away everything that does not belong, everything that is impure, everything that is weak. And what remains after the fire is the real thing, the true thing, the thing that cannot be taken by circumstance or shaken by fear. God works the same way in a human life. You have probably noticed something about yourself in this hard season. You are not the same person you were when it started. Something in you has shifted, not just your circumstances, you. Your patience is different. Your priorities are different. The things you used to worry about no longer seem so important. The things you used to take for granted, a quiet morning, a phone call from someone you love, a small moment of peace, now feel like gifts. That is not nothing. That is transformation. Consider Job again, but this time look at him not at the beginning of his suffering, but at the end of it. At the beginning, Job was a good man, faithful, honest, generous. He loved God and God called him blameless. But Job's faith had never truly been tested. He had been blessed. He had been comfortable. He had never had to hold on to God with nothing else left to hold. Then everything was taken. And Job held on anyway. Not perfectly, not without questions, not without moments of real anguish. But he held on. And when it was over, when the trial had completed its work in him, God said something remarkable. He said that Job had spoken what was right, not his friends who had all the tidy answers. Job, who had sat in the ash and wept and still refused to let go. The trial had not broken Job. It had built him into something stronger than he was before. Look at yourself honestly. Who were you before this hard season began? And who are you now? More compassionate than you were before. You have been through pain, more patient. You have been forced to wait, more grateful for small things. You have lost something and had to reckon with the absence of it. If you pray more deeply now than you did before, it is because the shallow prayers stopped being enough. A weak faith looks for feelings. A strong faith looks for fruit. And the fruit of a trial, when you let God work through it, is a person who is deeper, quieter, more rooted, and more real. God is not punishing you. He is preparing you. All along, he was at work. The pain was not the point. The person you are becoming is the point. Sign 8. A quiet knowing that you are not alone. Take a breath. We have come to the last sign, and this one is the quietest of all, but in many ways it is the most important. There are moments in life when you feel completely alone, not just physically alone, spiritually alone. Like the connection between you and God has gone silent. You pray and the words feel like they are going nowhere. You read and nothing lands. You sit in church and everyone around you seems to feel something that you cannot access. And you wonder if something is wrong with you. Whether you have done something to close the distance, if God has simply moved on. You have not done anything wrong, and he has not moved on. This is sign 8. A quiet knowing deep in the most honest part of you that despite everything you cannot feel, you are not alone. It is not a loud voice. It is not a vision. Nothing dramatic at all. It is something much smaller and much stronger than that. It is the fact that you are still here, still holding on, still, even in the silence, refusing to fully let go. That holding on is not coming from you alone. Consider a woman who spent nearly 50 years feeling what you might be feeling right now. Her name was Mother Teresa. To the world, she was a symbol of faith, of joy, of certainty. She was the woman who held dying people in the streets of Calcutta and told them they were loved. She built homes for the sick and the forgotten. She spoke about God with a warmth that moved entire rooms of people. And privately, for decades, she felt nothing. She wrote letters to her spiritual directors that were not made public until after her death. In those letters, she described a darkness inside her that she could not escape. She wrote about feeling that God was absent, that her prayers hit a ceiling and came back to her empty, that the joy she showed to the world was real, but the feeling behind it had gone quiet long ago. She called it her darkness, her silence, her emptiness, and yet she did not stop. She kept serving. She kept praying. She kept showing up day after day in the darkest places with the most forgotten people, offering what she had, even when she felt she had nothing left inside. Why? Because somewhere underneath the silence, underneath the absence of feeling, there was something that did not let her go. A knowing that was quieter than emotion and stronger than doubt. Not a feeling, a fact. God was there. Even when she could not feel him, he was there. And that quiet knowing was enough to keep her moving for 50 years. You may be in your own silence right now, your own darkness, your own season of praying and hearing nothing back. And I want you to know that this silence does not mean absence. Some of the most profound faith in human history has been forged not in the moments of feeling God's presence, but in the long, hard seasons of not feeling it and choosing to trust anyway. The fact that you are still here, still watching, still reaching, still asking, that is not nothing. That is sign 8. That is the quiet knowing at work inside you, even now. You cannot always feel his hand, but you can trust it is there. He was working all along. We have walked through 8 signs together today. Let us bring them back one more time, simply and clearly. Sign 1. That unexplainable stillness that arrives before the answer does. Sign 2. A door that closed when you wanted it to stay open. Protection wearing the face of disappointment. Sign 3. A moment, a meeting, a conversation that felt too perfectly timed to be random. A divine appointment dressed as an ordinary Tuesday. Sign 4. A restlessness inside you that will not settle. God loosening your grip on a season that is ending, preparing you for what comes next. Sign 5. A word, a verse, a sentence that found you at exactly the right moment. Placed there by someone who knew what you needed before you did. Sign 6. People entering and leaving at strange times. Each one sent, each one purposeful, each departure creating space for what God has next. Sign 7. A trial that is changing you from the inside. Not punishment, preparation. The fire that does not destroy, but refines. Sign 8. A quiet knowing underneath all the silence. The fact that you are still here, still reaching, still holding on. These are not small things. These are the fingerprints of a God who has been present in your life, even in the seasons when he felt completely absent. Look back at your hardest season. He was there, still working. He always was. You may not have felt him. You might have cried out and heard nothing. You might have prayed the same prayer 100 times and wondered if it ever reached anywhere. But the signs were there. The peace that arrived unexpectedly. The door that closed and confused you. The person who showed up and said exactly what you needed. The restlessness that turned out to be preparation. The word that found you. The leaving that made space. The trial that built you. The quiet knowing that kept you. He was working all along. And he is working right now, in this moment, in your life, in the situation you woke up thinking about this morning, in the relationship you do not know how to fix, in the decision you are afraid to make, in the waiting that has gone on longer than you thought you could bear. He has not forgotten you. He has not moved on. He is not distant. He is working quietly, faithfully, in ways you may not yet be able to see. Trust the process. Trust the signs. Trust the one who placed them there. Which of these 8 signs hit you the hardest today? Tell me in the comments below. I would love to hear your story. Keep listening every day, English learners. Let your faith and your English grow together. I will see you in the next one.